Hey guys, it's Anton with ComicCon.com. I am just beyond elated to be here today. I am speaking with one of the living legends, the true icons of the industry, someone whose work has been with me for almost as long as I've been on this planet. The incomparable legend Todd McFarlane is in the room. This is, I have chills. This is so amazing. Hello, sir. How are you?
But it's always oddly interesting the way people describe you, right? Because like, and maybe part of it is that I everybody I'm sort of jealous of everybody because they all get to escape me. I'm stuck with me every day, every second. It's always weird, especially as your career changes, the different words they use, and depending upon what you're talking about, the the type of word there's again because there's a fine line between determination and delusion, right, or whatever. Being tenacious and being basically a bit of an asshole, right? So uh, all of those have razor edges to it, and depending on who you're talking to, I think all those definitions are kind of fair. Living legends that, like, I don't know, it's always weird because you're like, what? I think most people who had a little bit of sort of celebrity, and again, on the big scale celebrity, I'm way down here because comic books isn't like TV and movies and music and stuff. But I think most people don't think of themselves the way that other people think of themselves, right? I mean, because you're just living your life, and other people have opinions about it. Other people have sort of labels to it, and you're just living your life. And I guess in hindsight, if you stop and think about it, you go, yeah, man, I guess we have run a lot of miles, and it has been a pretty good race. But for the most part, most of us are just in the middle of the race every day. So you're
Right.
not really keeping score of it. You're just doing it. You're doing it. And oh, by the way, tomorrow is always the best day. Like, who cares what I did yesterday? Tomorrow's the best day. And everybody's always talking about sort of yesterday and what you did and all those other ones. But I appreciate the kind words. At some point, you guys are going to discover that I was just pulling the wool over all your eyes. But go ahead.
Oh, I don't know, man. I mean, I grew up in a weird landscape where like comics was how I kind of got to know the world, right? Like,
Yep.
I mean, one of my earliest memories, I bet you growing up as a disabled kid, was like reading, when the Lizard, and Kirk Connors gets this awesome serum in his body, and he can all of a sudden he's physically able, like, and I wanted that. I didn't want to throw the shield. I wanted to be the monster and be able to climb the sides of buildings and like run around at night. And I, like, as a little kid, I'm like, that's who I want to be. But he was a monster, and you weren't supposed to like the Lizard. You were supposed to want to be Spider-Man, and I didn't want to be Spider-Man. I really, that was just how I was wired, I guess. And I remember being really little, and it was almost like urban legends of Spawn, coming across the playground when I was a kid. And I had big leg brace, and he had his big boot. And I just, like, there was such a shape language. It was so iconic for me as this little kid with like a crutch, and he had his chains, so I could wrap paperclip chains around my crutch. And all of a sudden, I couldn't be Batman. I couldn't be, Superman or Spider-Man, but I could at least, from, in a weird little kid sort of way, in an elementary school sort of way, I finally had a hero who was, kids would make fun of me. They would say I was a monster. This is a monstrous hero. That to me was huge. It was, it was like representation, and that was
Well,
so.
here's the piece of it is that, and I'll assume that everything you said is from the heart and true.
Oh
Is
yeah,
that from our point of view, the people who are doing the creating, we're blind to all of that, right? We're just doing cool stuff. Man, that's just cool. And we don't really know whether it lands or it doesn't land in somebody's life, whether they like it or they don't. And to what degree, if they do like it, they're absorbing it, right? Which is always sort of the interesting piece of it, because I hear sort of stories, not exactly like yours, but heartfelt stories that you have no idea because your head's down and all you're trying to do is beat this month's deadline. That's
Right.
it. That's all I got. I don't get to control anything else that's out there. I've just got to get my thing done. But I used to have those things. I used to have music and TV shows and personalities I looked up to that had an impact, that had no idea, right, that they were impacting me. Even when I was trying to break into comic books, you know, people drawing comic books and their comic books influenced me. They had no idea, right? So it's always an interesting thing, which is why I think that we need to all be careful in the way we connect and talk to each other, both from the creator to the fan and from the fan back to the creator. I'm surprised when I like it a lot, and it's then go buy something that you like if you don't. Done, right? Because I've got a deadline tomorrow. I've got to finish my next page. I got to finish my next script. I got to finish my next toy. I already know what I'm doing tomorrow, regardless of whatever input I get from the outside world.
We got some pretty big tomorrows coming up. What we're about to hit
tomorrow's always got to be your best day.
Yeah, right. It's gotta, I mean, you gotta look forward to it. That's why you have something to look forward to. And I mean, like, what, issue 350 is coming, and that's gonna be huge. Definitely for people who are on the side of, we love the work that is being done. We're looking forward to those covers. 350 is gonna be gigantic.
Yeah. So let's talk about 350 if you don't mind, right?
Not at all, please.
So 350, although it's a big number, and again, we'll set another world's record because everyone, it's 301, every issue comes out is a new world record. But it's a good anniversary book, but it's, and what I'm about to say may sound odd to you. It's a good jumping on point for lapsed Spawn readers or people who are like, I've been hearing a little bit about Spawn. This is a good point to jump on. And here's why. Because in issue 100, I actually happen to have it here. In issue 100, right? 100.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago. This is a great.
Good issue, too.
This is an Alex Ross cover. Great last issue Greg Capullo did on his steady run. But in that issue, he cut the head off of his master. That was it. That was the ending. It was like, no, I'm gonna kill my master. I will not be a slave anymore. What that meant was that his master was sitting on the throne of hell, and now the throne has been empty for 250 issues. Again, I'm not saying you have to go buy the last 250 issues. It's not that relevant. But I have mentioned it throughout those 250 issues. And in the last couple of years, we've been focusing on it, that there's a couple players now that say, oh my gosh, I want to sit on it, because we know that whoever sits on it, their power gets augmented. So if you're an 8 out of 10, you're going to be a 16 if you sit on it.
Wow.
So even if you're not up to the level of Spawn or some of the other enemies that you may have, God himself, then you sit on it, your power is going to double. You become the big shot at the party. So people are now scrumming for it. So what we're going to get finally, after 250 issues, finally, who sits on that throne? Who sits on it? Somebody's going to, at the end of this book, 350, if for nothing else, you're going to finally get the punchline of that question that's been lingering for 250 issues. Somebody's going to sit on it, and you're going to get the answer. So you go, oh, so I get the punchline of the joke, but you don't have to read the last 250 issues of the joke. Just go, that's the punchline. Somebody's now back on it. Number 2, whoever does sit on it, and somebody is, it's going to impact the world going forward. And very so cool. Starting with 351 of Spawn, as well as my other comic books, Gunslinger, Scorch, and King Spawn, there's going to be a shift, and you're going to see some changes. And those changes are a direct result of that ending of 350. So you could start picking up at 351 because that's a good starting point, because, again, there's this new shift and you're going to go. But 350 is even better because for a couple of reasons. One, you get to actually see the reason for that shift, right? You go, oh, I read that. So that's what's causing it. That's cool. And even better than that, it's going to be a hell of a value, right? We're going to give, it's a 40-page book and it's going to be $4.99. A 40-page book.
Wow.
40-page book at $4.99.
That's a hell of a value.
There are a lot of comic books out in the marketplace right now that are 20 pages for that exact same price. I'm going to double it. I'm going to give you 2 for the price of 1, right? I mean, not really, because my normal books are $2.99, but just looking at the marketplace, I don't know what they're doing, but I'm going to hopefully embarrass them a little bit by going, I can give them 40 pages. Why aren't you? So you're going to get a double-sized anniversary book that basically gives you an ending for 250 issues, and it's going to be the catalyst of what's moving forward. That's going to change all the books for $4.99. It's an easy sampler, right? It's an easy sampler to buy that one issue and go, oh, I can try it, right? I think you could do worse that month if you're looking for comic books to entertain you.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, like you said, that's a killer value. Now, there's some artist change-ups happening too, right?
Yep.
I think we're seeing some new internal art. Brett Booth is coming on to take over the internals. That dude's wildly talented. I mean, I remember picking up Backlash and the Kindred way back in the day and reading those as a kid in the comic shops. So are we kind of returning to like that cool 90s vibe? Like, is that what we're going to see?
Yeah, well, let's talk about it. So Brett Booth, who was doing Gunslinger,
right,
is going to move over to Spawn, and then Carlo Barbary, who was over here at Spawn, is going to go over to Gunslinger. They're basically going to swap.
Oh, that's cool.
So why are they swapping? Really, it's sort of an internal reason. Although I thought 350 was a good place to do it. Both Carlo and Brett have been giving me years of their life and given me hundreds of pages of brilliant artwork on a timely fashion. Let me tell you that what I just said is kind of close to being a unicorn. Like, there's not a lot of them in the industry that do that. Good quality artwork and are willing to do monthly books and are satisfied with that. And so when you have a couple unicorns, you try not to lose them. So one of the things is, because I used to do books, and at times, even though you're having a good time on a book, there can become a repetitiveness to it, right? Oh, I'm going to draw a Batman with that cape again, right? And again, I mean, tip of the hat to Greg Capullo doing 50 issues, right? I mean, those are staggering numbers now. So I'm always sort of asking my artists, hey, you doing okay? You doing okay? Like, is there anything I can do to make it better for you? Is there anything I can help with? And so even though here's the thing, they're both gentlemen and they're both super kind people. And I hope everybody at some point gets a chance to sort of talk or see them someday, because they're just super generous men. They're both sort of like, no, Todd, we'll stay. We're good. We're good. Thanks. But I just know that, like, sometimes it's nice to just have a little bit of variety in your diet, right? So it was like, hey, Brett, how would you like to draw Spawn for a while, right? And he perked up, because again, Spawn's sort of like the icon, right? He's like sort of Spider-Man or Batman at DC. So he's like, oh yeah, cool. And then Carlo had done a couple of scenes with the Gunslinger that I had written earlier in his run, and he killed it. I mean, he was drawing a Gunslinger that I still in back of my mind go, man, I'd love to see a full issue of it. And so it was a way for me to go, hey, Carlo, you've drawn your capes, you've drawn your back alleys and your shadows. Let's do something different for you. And Brett, you've been doing the cowboy Western thing. How about if I give you a Moody book? Let's just see how any of that works. And oh, by the way, we do it at a time where there's a big event, and maybe it helps both books because it's sort of a new start with the new team, quote unquote. blah, blah, blah. So that's it. It wasn't for anything sort of other than trying to retain my employees, if you will.
I mean,
right?
Making employees happy. That's important.
That's making employees happy. That's it. That should be job number one. Oh, let's talk about, okay, I had this other list there.
Yeah, let's see the list.
I was doing Instagram the other day. I just happened to have these. So it's not like I did them for you. Don't get high on your horse.
Oh, no. I can't even ride a horse.
Yeah. So those are the people that are going to be doing the covers for $350.
Exciting.
So that's Brett Booth, Big Bad Todd. This is Puppeteer Lee, not Jim Lee or Stanley. Right. So Puppeteer Lee, but he's the guy that did the cover for King Spawn 1. He's amazing. He's amazing. Ryan Stegman and then Jonathan Galapian, who's doing some funky, cool covers that are really.
And you've got an asterisk.
I think the asterisk is not. I like me is because there's going to be 2 covers, a color and the black and white of mine. So there's 2 versions of it. That's all that's there for. So if one of those happened to be somebody that you enjoy, then you've got a selection. Again, nobody's required to buy all of them. Pick your favorite, buy it. You can get in and out for $4.99, and you're done. And you're at the beginning of a starting point that is going to matter.
That's exciting. It's awesome.
It is exciting. And here's why. Like issue 301 again. You're a comic geek, so issue 301. Remember, we set the record. Right. Okay. We now have added 50 issues. If you and I were talking about issue 50, it still would be an event. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, issue 50 is Spawn. That's cool. But we like, so yeah, cool. Because just 50, that's a big number, right?
It's a huge number.
Right. I can ignore the first 300 and still be proud that we've added 50. But we set a record. And then we added another 50 on top.
And it's still going.
Yeah, this is why I keep saying to people, like, nobody's going to break this record. Nobody's going to break this record. And here's why, because at 300, they're like, oh my God, well, you're not going to break 300 because by the time you think about it, I'm going to be at 350. And by the time you think about it again, I'll be at 400. Like, what are you talking about? This is going to keep going. This is going to keep going and going and going. And just, I've said it before, just raw math. Let's just do some silly raw math. A book a month.
Right.
12 a year. 10 years gets you 120.
Yep.
20 years, 240. 3 years is 30 years is 360. So that's 30 years of your life right there. Okay. If I do what I think I can do, which is to double that number, or at least get to 666 and then drop it.
That would be awesome.
Then that's like almost 60 years. Okay. So the only person that's going to take me down is there's got to be a 20-year-old right now sitting there listening right now saying, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take down that cocky little son of a bitch. I'm going to take that dude, thinks he's so big for his britches. I'm going to take him down. And you know what? I'm just going to put my head down. I'm 20, got lots of energy, and I'm going to do something, and I'm going to stay with it till I'm 80. 80. Who's that 20-year-old? That 20-year-old doesn't exist. That 30-year-old doesn't exist because at some point the 30-year-old goes, I got to go to 90, right? It's right. Just mathematically just go, let them have the record. I've said to people before, you want a record, don't chase this one. If you want a Guinness Book of World Record, which it is, don't chase this one. Make the biggest pizza. Takes you one day. Make the biggest pizza. If you fall short, you spent one day of your life, didn't work, you're out. But hopefully it will inspire people to do half that someday and go, okay, he's going to get to 700. Why can't I get to 350? Right? Todd's at 350 right now. He still seems like he's got a lot of energy. He still seems like he's young. Look at him. He's okay. Yeah, it's doable. Or if not, forget about 350. Do 50. Do 50. Here's why you do 50. Every book that's done 50 at Image has gone on to bigger and better if the creative person wanted them to. I think Brian K. Vaughan with Saga has sort of kept it close to his vest. But every other book that's gone 50 or over has gone beyond the bubble. And the bubble is comic book.
Right.
And the goal to some extent is to get outside the bubble so that like the rest of the world know that you exist. So every book that's got to 50 is gotten there. Now, here's the question. How many books have gotten past 50? We're 30 years into Image comic books, and I think there's been, not counting the founders, because we got sort of a head start. I think there's been 5, maybe 6 in 30 years. To a decade.
50,
to a decade. To a decade. So if you can get to 50, you'll be one of 6, one of 7. Because there's only 6 right now. You're going to be an elite company. My frustration is I wish that it wasn't 6. I wish that there were 106 examples of showing this. Oh, by the way, you get to do a compendium. You know those big fat books?
Yeah.
Right? Compendium. Who gets to do a compendium? Only those that get to 50. And at some point, you're going to get old and you don't want to do manual labor. So and most people have to retire. And then you get maybe a little bit of a pension, right? What if you could take your library and you could just keep reprinting it and reprinting it and reprinting it, or create a character and get other people to help you keep that character going, right? Then you don't have to basically do all the manual labor and you can still reap the benefits of it. So, and it might inspire other people to go on and build bigger and better. Walt Disney laid down some tracks and then he died and other people have taken it and turned it into something magnificent. Cool, right? Cool. I don't know. I guess, or you can spend 20 years working for the big 2. I guess that's an option. 100,000 of those examples, right? There's not that many Robert Kirkmans. But the way you become Robert Kirkman is you basically put in the time and effort. And if it pays off, not only in terms of your self-satisfaction, you don't have to get it, but in terms of like fame and fortune, if that's what you're chasing, go and create the next Walking Dead. Oh, by the way, one thing, when you go and do it, don't do 5 issues of
it. Don't do 5.
And then sell it to Hollywood and then have it become big. Because when that happens, then you go, oh man, now that it's big on TV, I'm going to exploit my library, and you got 5 issues. You can't even do 1 trade paperback. How are you exploiting it? Robert Kirkman made his fortune selling trade paperbacks and comic books after the TV series took off. He was smart enough to keep his publishing rights. That's where he made his move. And when they put that on to 20 million people, and then they started buying his product, which is his books, right? Hollywood didn't make him rich. That was comic books, right? And that's his, 100%. God bless him, right? And I'm an atheist, and I say that. So good for him. But that opportunity exists for everybody to at least try. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but to at least try. And Kirkman had close to 200 issues of Walking Dead that he got to exploit. And I see a lot of my peers doing 5 issues, selling their option in Hollywood. 5 issues. That ain't going to do you nothing. Not long term. I'm sure Hollywood gave you a nice chunk of change. That ain't going to last forever. You want generational wealth.
Yeah.
It's going to help you, your family, your grandkids, whatever else. You do what Robert Kirkman did, and to some extent what I did. Put your head down, come up with a cool idea, do it, build on, and then it eventually will take on a life of its own. And shoot, who knows where the rest of it goes, right? I don't know, 40 years from now where Spawn's going to be. But he's doing okay right now. Hard for me to imagine he's going to go backwards. So let's go. Why wouldn't everybody want to try it? And from a writer's point of view, it's even weirder. I got to tell you, it's really weird for me. because a writer can write 4 or 5 books a month.
Oh yeah.
Superman, Batman, Iron Man, Avengers, and your own book, at least one of them. I want there to be dozens and dozens of examples. Why? So that the next generation past you will then go, wow, look at those dozens of examples. I'm going to try that too. Success will beget more people trying for success. You don't want us to be exceptions. You don't want Robert Kirkman and I to be the exceptions. I don't want that either. I want there to be 100 of us. That's the victory, because then everybody will think that they can do it. And we're going to, every now and then, actually get the home run. Everybody's going to take a swing. Every now and then it's going to go out of the park. Awesome.
Now, not just the book, which is huge, right? So that's coming up. That's a big thing. But we've also got, you know, I cover the toy beat over here at Comic-Con, and I think you've got like the Medieval Spawn Kickstarter that's coming up. I remember the Wave 1 Medieval Spawn figure with the serrated shield. I remember picking that up as a kid and playing with that. It was one of my favorites. So this new one, though, I mean, that's super detailed. This thing looks amazing.
Yeah.
And the
Kickstarter Medieval, I believe, is the most detailed figure we've done.
It looks gorgeous.
Right. I mean, again, we've done some statues where we're able, because of a different process, you can get a little bit more detail. But for an actual articulated toy, I think, I mean, maybe somebody will remind me about something else that we did. But this thing's going to be like just like crazy noodled textures and stuff. And then the fun part about it is that you're going to get different helmets, right? Because again, he's a knight, doesn't have to wear the same helmet all the time. And then again, it's part of some of the stretch goals and whatever else. And hopefully I'll be able to give everybody everything that we're talking about. You know, there's one that even has like a pivot so that it looks like a helmet, and then you pivot it up, and then you see like what I call the hamburger head underneath it, or just fun stuff, right? I'm trying to think, because we just went over it and we had so many pieces of whether, like, there's one that's actually even an empty helmet that you can put over a head, right? Problem with putting a helmet on a head, as you know, you're a toy guy, you either have to have a smallish head and a perfect helmet, or you have to have a perfect head and kind of a biggish helmet, right? There's no way to do it the other way. But that's okay. There's still a fun factor in being able to take something off and on. Lots of weapons, you know, a couple of shields, and just cool stuff. I think he's a natural progression, especially given that it's sort of a bit of a continuation of the very first series of Spawns that we did in this sort of 30th anniversary. That if people were excited about the Spawn Kickstarter, I think you're really going to be excited about this one. So, and then the piece, and which we haven't announced, although I just did a meeting about it here, that one of the things that I'm trying to put into alignment is Kickstarter is usually a place where people go to make money. Once they get the money, then they begin the project. I'm actually beginning the project now and have been. What that means is that I've been prepping the kitchen and all the spices and all the pieces of ingredients I need for this cake. I've been prepping all of it so that the only thing the factory is going to be waiting for is going to be at the end of the Kickstarter is going to be how many and what items are included. And I should be able to give it to them the day after the backer, the offering closes. Right. I should be able to give it to them because I'll have the data. I'll be able to give it to them the next day. And since it's all going to be pre-prepped, they should be able to go into production within 24 hours of that offering. What does that mean for you? That means they're going to be making it. I don't have to wait. I'm not going to now go, oh, well, let's go make it. No. I assumed this was going to be successful. I'm spending my own money. I know that that's sort of different. Most people go and do these because they need the money. I've been fortunate that I can spend the money in advance and I can get it all ready, so that means, and we're going to get a real time frame, but that means from the time it ends to the time we ship should be months. I mean, I pride myself in trying to do stuff that nobody else done. I'm going to see if I can't set the record for turnaround from end to consumer's hand. The fact that that's going to be part of the sell. You don't have to wait a year. You will get this in 90 days, right? So
I'm looking forward to that, because I know that wait. I almost waited 2 years for a pre-order for a figure that has recently been released. So I mean, for that quick of a turnaround, it's easy to see why, you know, you're coming on the 30th anniversary of McFarlane Toys, and why independent toy maker can stand alongside the rest of the industry giants, as it were. That's freaking awesome, man. That's so exciting.
Well, the thing is, it's like I sort of see Kickstarter a little bit of like putting out your trailer for your movie, right? That you sort of tease everybody, and then you're like, oh, and everybody gets excited and they go buy their ticket, but it's like you can't go to the movie for a year and a half, right?
Right.
We got to now go make the movie, right? Usually what works in Hollywood is they've already made the movie, right? And then they show you the trailer and they go, oh, you can go see this in 3 weeks, right? While your enthusiasm is up. So I'm hoping that I can sort of play with, oh, and if you like all that, one of the other reasons you get it, because you're going to get it super fast, right? And here's why you're going to get it super fast. Bam, 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 right? And then it's like, so if you were sitting on the fence, that should push you over. That it's like, so I don't have to wait a year? No. Oh, man, cool, click. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if it matters.
I think it will. I mean, I know, you know, it's easier to plan, oh, this is going to go on my shelf here, knowing that I'm going to get it sooner than having to wait, you know, months and months and months for it to arrive. Yep. And there's you've got other new announcements, right? Page Punch, the Dungeons and Dragons is one of the IPs that you're going to be working with. I'm a huge gamer. I cover all of our stuff. I work in gaming. As you know, as a games director, I work for a publishing company putting out 5e adjacent games. When I heard that, I literally thought somebody was messing with me, because I got a text from one of my friends and I looked up the press releases. I was like, this is accurate. I mean, that's so exciting. Like, do you have any previews? Like, when should we start seeing like what it looks like is coming next? Like what the waves are going to look like?
Yeah, here's the thing, that it's our initial sort of foray in a relationship with Hasbro, right? And so normally the way that it works is every relationship is its own new thing, and what works usually best is everybody's, sort of like dating each other. You sort of get a feel for each other. So we're gonna walk first before we worry about running. And even if I wanted to run, whenever you're with somebody, you have to sort of prove that you've earned it, that whatever it is you're asking for. So, we'll start with, like, again, the page punchers, do them at a, smaller size, do whatever. Hopefully all that's successful. Again, my guess is that each one of the brands will sell at a different rate because they're not all created equal. And then we'll come back to them. We've already talked about it, about like, well, how do we then follow this up, right? With maybe different characters, different scales, different ideas, different price points, all the above. And everybody's willing to have all those conversations. We just want to make sure that our first offering works for us to be able to, ask them for maybe a little bit more aggressive on the second request. So results matter, and we'll see how it all goes.
That's so exciting. I know, we've used the McFarlane Dragons on the table with our miniatures when we're actually rolling dice as encounter pieces. So like, it's just everybody's really excited. Like I know this is going to be huge. So I'm looking. And
I've talked to different fans for different reasons. Again, there's going to be a little bit of a sort of a retro feel too, for people to just go, oh man, I remember that. So again, we're gonna have a little bit of fun at the beginning of it, and like I said, walk our way through it, and then hopefully, find the paths where we've got lots of space to get super excited and super clever and experiment.
You mentioned excited a lot, and tomorrow, and this concept of what's coming next.
Yeah.
Is there anything on the horizon that you're super pumped about, that you wake up in the morning and you're like, man, I'm jazzed. This is going to be epic. Like what makes you happy when you get up in the morning and you're ready to just tackle the day with the energy that you've been tackling it with for so long?
So I'll get a little personal with you. I adore my wife, right? So I get to wake up every day and she's at my side. So it's already going to be a great day today. If I sell toys and comic books, that's not overly relevant at that point. I've got a beautiful family that have put up with their dad for a lot. Good friends. I am not a religious person, and so today is as good as it gets. So I'm thankful every day I wake up with air in my lungs, because I get another day of paradise. Paradise to me is right now, right? Living, right? It's just the world can have dark corners, but it also can be beautiful, right? I get to hold the hand of my children and my wife and give them hugs when they need it, and comfort them when they cry. As far as I know, that doesn't happen in the afterlife. So this is it, right? Like, this is all the flavors and all the senses now. Like, life is, I don't know. I'm excited about life. I just so you know, I don't drink alcohol, never have. Don't do drugs, never have. Smoke, none of it, right? And I still, like, again, my wife said, man, if you had any vices, you'd probably be in jail because you'd be too jacked. And then on the creative end, I have the luxury of owning things 100% that I don't have to ask anybody's approval for. So I can get up, come up with an idea, and just implement it. Done. Right? There's a huge piece of satisfaction to that piece. And then I've been super lucky, fortunate, whatever words you want to use. People that are religions use blessed. I don't, because I'm not. But it's in that category of having people support what I do. So I've had a career. I get to basically come up with crazy ideas, and people will support it so that I can do it again tomorrow. And it's been happening for 30, 40 years. What do I have to complain about? Like, of course today is good. I don't know. I don't have anything literally that I should be down on. What is it? What's my problem? Todd McFarlane, heterosexual white male in the world with a great career. What do I have? And even if I do have a problem, nobody's going to pay attention. Who cares? I don't know. I'm doing good. I'm doing good, and I try to sort of bring some of that across. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I still feel like I'm a kid at heart. So hopefully that'll get me to 100 years old. So that means I've got another 40 years still. I'm only halfway through my career. If I live to be 100, which I'm hoping for, I'm only halfway through my career. So whatever you think I've done, Living Legend, shit, the Living Legend's only got halfway. He's only run half the race. You just wait till you see what I do the next 40 years.
All the creative stuff aside, I'm just happy to have had a chance to meet you, Mr. McFarlane. You're fantastic. Literally partitioning all the creator stuff aside, just this interaction has been nothing but a delight. And it's really cool to know that you're this kind of person, because that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, let me add a piece to it. I need the success because it begats me being able to do more art. And I'm a creative person and I'm an artist. And so if I have to succeed and at times use me as part of the personality to help the success so that I get to do art tomorrow, I'll do it every time, right? So I'm not going to apologize for being successful, but but I'm not successful so I can drive a Lamborghini, which I don't.
Right.
Right. I succeed so that people will give you opportunities to do what you like to do creatively. Again, especially if you're asking for their money. If you're not, if you're going to spend your own money, it doesn't matter whether you're successful or not. Just burn your own money. That's okay. Do it. Right. I'm a big advocate. Never take anybody else's money if you can help it, because then you don't have to ask anybody's approval. But once you go and ask somebody, then it's way easier for them to say yes if you've had success. I would like to make your Batman toys. I'd better have a hell of a reason why that Warner Brothers and DC should give me, of all the toy companies, why should we give it to you, Todd? And the answer is, let me paint you a story. Let me show you data. Let me show you how this can be a win-win for both of us. Boom, 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 boom. And then they go, yeah. And then I walk out going, we get to do Batman. Finally, after 20 years, we get to do Batman. Woo! That's the 8-year-old boy. Woo! And if I've got to do all those other pieces to get to, we get to do Batman, I will play that game every single time. So I have said plenty of times, I think I'm bilingual now. I'm creative and I'm a businessman. And if I got to talk business for an hour to a group of people in 3-piece suit in a conference room to get them to say yes so that I can do art, I will act like a CEO. I will talk their language. I will say and do what I know is important for them to hear. And then once they give me the yes, then I go, wow, now we get to do creative, funky, fun stuff. And I've got a team of people that are dazzling. Let's go. It's the full Monty now. Let's go. We got it. Let's have a good time. And we have to succeed, because I may ask somebody else if I can use their brand.
For as long as I'm still here, I'm looking forward to seeing what cool creative things you have to show us.
It's a good life. I'm telling you, as somebody who's lived it, it's a good life. I just would like to see hundreds, if not thousands of others basically have the same fortunate steps that I've had. I wish I could give a piece to people, because it's good. Like, guys, you should be greedy for it. It's like, it's a good life. Happiness, and you don't have to worry about paying your bill. Not bad.
Illuminating, for sure. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the conversation. The perspective is awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sitting down and talking to me. Hopefully we can do this again, because this was great.
All right. I appreciate your time too. We all play a part. We all play a part, right? Creators, publishers, retailers, people in your profession, the people who pass the news around, right? The influencers, whatever you want to call yourself, that got to get the info out, and then the fans. And if any one of those pieces breaks apart, then the chain doesn't work. This isn't individual stuff. This is team effort here. So I appreciate everybody that helps in that effort. So thank you for giving me the time today.